Hi, this is Mercy Yermakov. Sorry about the delay with starting. I was having difficulty with my camera, with my phone. It was not rotating. So I am now back in business and hopefully this will work. Let me know if you can see this, if you have any difficulties. I hope that you can, I will try to answer questions. I'm trying to coordinate with having it on the laptop. So anyhow, I will turn the camera and I will get started right away. So here we go. All right, so here it is. And I hope it's not too blurry. All right, so this is the first card we're going to be making, but I did want to, while we're getting started, talk a little bit about the deal we have. So I'm going to be making this free card kit every month, so the first Sunday of each month, hopefully. And I also want to mention the incentive deal. If you purchase a Simply Shammy, which looks like this one's a dirty one, it'll come clean, with your order, I will throw in a case. So when you get the card kit, I will have it in the case. Now, if you do not order the chamois, it will be just in Ziploc bags, each card. So I hope that's clear. If you have any questions about any of this, just let me know and I will try to, answer any questions just by emailing or texting or whatever. So I will get started. Here we have, this first card is a birthday card, and it is using the set Piece of Cake and Amazing Life. So these are new sets that can be found in the Occasions catalog. I'll just quickly show you real quick. Here's the main one, Piece of Cake, and that's, again, the one I'll primarily be using. This one I just used a little sentiment here. So setting this aside, I will get started. The first thing I'm going to do is bring in the Stamparatus, and this is a wonderful tool for stamping. You can double stamp, and there's a lot of different things you can do with the Stamparatus. So I will show you more of that. And hold on one second. Dima, if you wouldn't mind trying to find this live feed here so I can reply to comments, that would be great. Okay, so putting this here, it's good to support your Stamparatus. So I usually use like an empty case when you have the window. So the first thing I'm going to do is bring in the top piece, and I made this L because stamping gets a little bit inaccurate the closer you get to these hinges. So I just used this from cardstock. It's very simple. So I will go ahead and ink this up. And usually I keep it flat, but I'm trying to show you a little bit how the Stamparatus works and looks like. So going down here, and you can see it doesn't stamp it really well the first time around, which is why I like double stamping. And it also ensures that you have a really accurate, straight stamp, providing you lay it down correctly in the first place. So I'll set this aside now, and well, I guess we'll do one more. There we go. It will be good. Sorry, Dima hit the laptop here. I mean, not laptop, but I'll try to fix this a little bit. Oh, sorry about the wobbling. Okay. All right, I'll just set this aside and I'll worry about this, getting it straight in a minute here. So that's the Stamparatus work. I really like using the Stamparatus for my stamping, so it really helps with a lot of, just making it quicker actually. And then the next thing I'll do is I'll bring in some of the pieces. I'm going to go ahead assemble the most of the card base to the card base, but I have a few tricks here. This will be overlapped. So what I'm going to be doing is putting it together kind of, but it needs to be taped here. So what I like using is tear and tape. So I'm going to bring this, here's my tear and tape, and I'm going to just use a couple pieces so I create a card that's, together but still matted. So I will just go ahead, lay down these here, and this will be covered once we put the embossed paper on, and we will also be wrapping it with the ribbon. All right, here we go. So just lay it nice and straight, and then you bring in your embossed paper, and this you just want to line up too with your paper, your base, so that you get it nice and straight. Now, if you have it a little bit off, it's not too concerning, but if you want to fix it, you could come in a little bit and trim it, but really it's not going to show too much once we have the ribbon on. So now I will go ahead and bring in the ribbon. That way you can see, I don't forget to do this part. It's actually easy to forget, believe it or not. So I just cut off a piece. This ribbon is a metallic ribbon, and it comes from it was shown with the Geared Up Garage set suite. So you just need a piece to cover it, but we're going to put it on the back. So I'm going to bring in my tear and tape again. And you could also use Scotch tape for this to hold the ribbon in place in the back of it. So what I want to do is, it's a fairly narrow ribbon. I just want to make sure none of the seam is showing. So I'm going to bring this over. I don't know if you can see this well. And I'm going to wrap it here and seal it off here. Sorry, I'm a little bit nervous here. It kind of rattled me with my technical difficulties, but once I get into the groove here. So now you can see it will just lay pretty flat. And if you're concerned about this jumping up, what you can do is bring a glue dot in and put it under it, just so that it doesn't, you know, kind of raise up. Because this ribbon is it doesn't lay flat very well. It's not a big problem, but it is, if that's a concern, you can definitely do this. So I have a little glue dot here, and I'm just gonna put it down, and then that will hold it in place a little better. So that is one part of it. Next, we're going to start with the stamping for the birthday cake. So I will set this aside for the time being and bring in my paper. Here's a scrap of Whisper White, and we are going to be stamping with this stamp. There are a number of stamps included in this set, so I'll just show you real quick what those look like. And you can stamp with that. So, oh, okay, I see some comments. Thank you, Christy. I'm trying. But it's a little hard, this Facebook Live, to get used to. I'm hoping that, you know, in time I will definitely improve. So this stamps extremely well. If you're using blends, it is best to let it dry a little bit before you try to color. But I'm actually going to be using the old Stamp Right markers, which is they're nice, but they do tend to show marks more. But when you have a really small area, it's not really an issue. So I will bring in the markers, and because I already have a layout here, usually what I do is I look at my master copy and just kind of copy off of it, but I will have that off camera. So you can just follow along. I'm not going to do all the coloring just because it would take a lot of time, but I want to kind of give you an idea. What I did here was, with this lovely lipstick, I just colored the big circles, and then I came in and added more colors. So that's kind of how with these markers. Now the blends, they're a little bit easier to get a nice coverage, but I do like, actually I'm going to do there are two tips. One is the fine tip and one is the brush. I like using the brush for larger areas, and the fine tip if it's a really small area, which a lot of these, not so much with this card, but the other one, the next one I'm going to be showing, has some really fine detailed parts. So there, and it just goes on a little smoother, and I seem to make fewer mistakes with the blends, so I don't know. Okay, so I will put that aside, and next I will show you how I did the cake stand, and we'll move on to that right now. So I'm gonna bring in some paper here, some scratch paper, just so we don't make a big mess. And I like mixing the Dazzling diamonds with silver embossing powder. You could probably do it with any of the embossing colors, you know, like they have gold, copper, white, any of them, but I really think it's pretty with the silver. So the first thing you need to do is, with your Versamark, you will stamp it, and it's a clear, and I'll bring my embossing buddy in. So it's a clear, it's like a sticky substance, which will create an environment for the embossing powder to stick to. So I'll just bring this in and go ahead and just stamp down. And as obviously at this point you really can't see what I'm doing, but it is definitely there. I'm going to start heating up my heat tool. So sorry about the noise. And then we'll quickly sprinkle this. So sprinkle it, dump it in, and I feel like I missed a tiny bit there. So you can always come back and add a little bit more if you feel like you didn't get a good enough coverage. So I'll set that aside, and my gun should be hot enough. And I will show it like this so that you can see it. Normally I would just lay it flat. Okay, let's see if it comes up. It's starting to come up now. It'll just turn shiny, and you don't want to overcook it. But when you add this Dazzling diamonds, it just adds a definite sparkle, which I think is really appealing and pretty. So there it is. Okay. I agree, Christy. I love the embossing. It just really adds a great touch. Here is the punch. Now this punch comes with the bundle. It's a little bit extra, but if you buy the stamp set and the punch together, you save 10%. So that definitely helps, and it makes things a lot quicker. So what I do is I just line it up, and this one's pretty easy to line up, and punch out. And there we have our little cake stand, which is adorable. And then I'm going to turn this around and punch out the cake. Now with the cake, the only thing I do like doing is I like to actually come in and trim off the top part, because when you're adding the next part, you don't want your candles to look like they're floating. So if you just trim it off with your snips, it kind of solves that problem, and then again it looks more accurate and nicer. So that is how you do it. For coloring, I used a light smoky slate, and I like using the fine tip edge when it's this small area, and this fills in really fast. So I will go ahead and just show this on camera. You just fill it in. The blends are just really beautiful to work with, and I really definitely enjoy them more than the Stamp Right markers, but they are a little bit more expensive too. So just something to think about. Okay, so we are going to next work on this background, and I'm going to bring in some punches for that. I have a 2-inch punch. So with this 2-inch punch, I'm going to punch out of basic black a circle, and it's just really super easy. I just wanted to show how quick that is. And then I'm going to bring in this punch, which is the Starburst, and punch out some of this beautiful shimmery silver cardstock. It adds so much glitter. Now, if you don't want to waste, okay, I'll just show this here. You're going to cover most of this up. So if you don't want to waste any, you could bring in another much smaller punch, bring this in here. Now let's see if I can get this good. And you have, well, I was a little bit close to the edge there, but the point is most of this, it actually does work. You won't even see that hole because it will be covered up. And then you can do this for another project, which I was thinking I might show something really quick what you could do with this if you wanted to. I'm going to just bring in some lovely lipstick cardstock and just stamp these. This is part of the kit, part of the stamp set, these little lollipops, which are really cute. And I could just do this. And then I could add this to the back of the envelope, which is what I was thinking. So if I bring in the 2 1/4 inch punch, I can just punch this out like so. And I have something that will, here's an envelope. I'll just show real quick what I would do. You could use that little bit of silver right here as a seal for your envelope, isn't it? That's really cute. I think I'm not sure how it would handle mailing, but definitely if this were hand delivered, that could definitely be an option. Okay, so I will set that aside and I will start assembling the rest of the card. Okay, here we have, I already have one done here, and you can see here I did a little better job centering it and gluing it. I used the Tombow liquid glue, and it's really staying, it's going to definitely stay put. So if you're wondering what type of glue to use on this card stock, well, what is it called? It is, I'm looking at my thing. It's called Glimmer paper, silver Glimmer paper. So it definitely holds it very well. So I'm going to go ahead and attach to my base, and we will finish this card up soon and move on to the next one. The next one is going to be an anniversary card using this stamp set plus a few other sentiments from another set. Actually one basically. Okay, so just add a little bit of Tombow and go ahead and try to put it on as straight as possible. With the Tombow, you do have a little bit of room to wiggle it if you got it a little bit off, which I think I got it pretty well, so I'm satisfied with that. Go ahead, add my cake background, if you will. I think this is really an adorable card. It's definitely girly. If you like girly, this is your card. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and start by adding the cake stand. Okay, here we go. I'm just going to put it fairly low down here. And again, if I have it a little bit crooked, which I feel like I do, I'm sorry if my head's showing, but I want to make sure that's straight, and it is now. So here I've gone ahead and done all the coloring, and I used also the Pineapple Punch is the yellow, and Bermuda Bay, and the pink is Powder Pink. So I have part of this with dimensionals, and part is just with the tear and tape. So, and this is what I'm talking about. You don't want the cake stand to look like, you don't want the cake to look like it's floating. So one thing you can do is kind of tuck it in a little bit. If I can get this, come on. Here we go. Sometimes I talk to my cards to get them to behave properly. All right. So that is that part. The final step is the butterfly. Now I did want to talk about the butterfly a little bit. This is from the set, it is from the DSP, which I punched out already, but I will show you a little bit. Here is the punch. This is the duet, Butterfly Gala duet. And what you do is just put it in here and punch it out. Now it also has a stamp set, you could do that as well. So I just wanted to explain that I actually used a DSP here and just colored it in. I'm not going to bother coloring it in, but I did want to mention that. So I'm just going to take off the backings here from the dimensionals, and I will set it on. Now, one important thing here is bend it and lay it down first so the body's on it. So that way it looks like it's flying. Okay, if you put it flat, it would just stay flat and it would just be not very secure in the center. So I want it to look like it's fluttering. Isn't that adorable? I hope you enjoyed watching that part. So yes, Shalana, I love glitter too. Glitter and glam, it all goes together. Hopefully I can get my paper a little straighter and my whole setup here a little better next time. But thank you so much for your patience. I know it's a little bit frustrating sometimes when people have technical problems, but we will get through it and we're going to be troopers. All right, so that is our one card and it's now complete, and I will next bring in our anniversary card. So here's the anniversary card. I just had to grab some of my stuff and move aside some of my other things that we don't need. The anniversary card, here are some of the instructions, or what goes into the card more or less, and you can just kind of follow along with that. So I'm just setting aside and setting up for this one. Just take a second here and I will transition. Okay, so I will start off by showing how I did the sentiment. Now, this was a die from the Humming Along, and it's this one. It's for the sentiment. And of course, I didn't use any of the sentiments included, but this is a great set as well, which I hope maybe another time I will show some card I made from that. So anyhow, what I was going to show you is how I stamped the sentiment. What I did is the first thing I stamped was the lower part, and the reason why I did that is it was easier to do the top second. It just made more sense with the way it works. So having grid paper helps you keep things nice and straight, but I'm not going to make any guarantees with this card because it is kind of a little bit difficult to do things on camera sometimes, so I won't make any promises. So with these foam pads, just tap lightly and then stamp straight down. I'm going to move it closer to where I'm sitting, and I'm going to go straight down almost to the bottom. Okay, so it had a little spot on here. Apparently I got some other ink on it, but you can kind of see how it worked. That's too bad. Oh well, it happens, right? Lots of things happen. All right, so I'm going to bring in the Blackberry Bliss to do the Happy Anniversary. Now this Happy Anniversary stamp came from Beautiful Bouquet, but a lot of sets include Happy Anniversary. So just something, you know. It could also easily be a wedding card. You could put Mr. and Mrs., which was part of this cake set, piece of cake set, which that would look really nice as well. And while I'm here, I'm just going to quickly clean up some of my stamps. I've kind of made a mess here. You should see my work surface. It's crazy. I guess you can see a little bit of it, but it's really cluttered here. So anyhow, I will show you next the stamping for the actual card, the cake in particular. So bringing in, this one is one of them. It's just beautiful. It has all these flowers that cascade up the cake, and it's just, I think it's just really gorgeous. So bringing back in my memento, we'll just make sure it's stamped and it looks pretty good. And there we have it. It just comes out really nice and crisp. So that is the cake. And the next part I'm going to do is the cake topper, as well as showing you a little bit about the coloring. So I will bring in another scrap here. Looks like I ran out of room on that scrap. And the cake topper, I just will quickly get here. Now leave enough, like at least 1/4 of an inch at the base. And the reason is then you're going to tape these two together. So I definitely would recommend doing that. I won't show all the coloring. In fact, I won't show any of the coloring with this one because I don't know if you can see it, but it's extremely tiny and you really have to get right over it to color it. But I will show you some of the colors that I used. I used like this dark petal pink and the light old olive. Now, This card base here, I mean this front, is Pear Pizzazz, which is similar to Old Olive. And then I also am using light Blackberry Bliss and Daffodil Delight. So those are the basic colors that I used. All right, so bringing in my punch, that's right. I need my punch. And then you can see how the punch works again. It's the same, all these cakes are exactly the same diameter, so this punch works for all of them, which is really cool. So that's how you punch out the cake. I do recommend coloring before punching out. It's just a little bit easier, but it's not, if you do punch it out first, it's no big deal as well. I've done it both ways, trust me. All right, so I'll get started, but I did want to explain a little bit more about this embossing. These are folders, embossing folders, and what you do is you put a cardstock in and you just lay it in. Imagine this is just a regular piece of cardstock. Close it up and you run it through your Big Shot, which is this machine that kind of cranks it through. So just something to, if you were curious about that. Something to note, I should say. All right, so my card base is the Mossy Meadow, but instead of just putting it straight down on here, I think adding white cardstock as your matting really makes it much more interesting, and it makes it more like a wedding. So that's why I chose to do that. So I will go ahead and quickly adhere these together. I do like using the Tombow glue for this part, just so you do have that wiggle room, and it goes very fast. I used to use tape runners pretty much exclusively, but I've definitely changed over, and I like it better, and it's less expensive to use liquid glue. So if you're thinking about that. The other thing I forgot to do on the previous card was do the inside of the card. I'm always forgetting that. So we will bring that in at the end and do both of them, because that was bad of me not to show that part. You cannot write on black cardstock. Well, maybe if you used a white gel pen, but that would kind of get old fast. So that was my whoops. Oh, speaking of whoops, I just did another whoops. I need to add my ribbon to the back of this one. Wow, okay, that was a whoops. All right, not to worry. Let's take this, see if it comes up. If it doesn't, yeah, it's still coming up. Oh, wow. All right, you get to see all the good, the bad, the ugly. So with this, I've already prepared it. I'm gonna just go ahead and take off these dimensionals backings. I wrapped it, I threaded it through this sentiment, through these ends here, my ribbon. So that was definitely a bad boo-boo on my part, but sometimes you can tuck it in, the ribbon. So I'm doing this the hard way. Don't do it like this. Okay, well, it could have been a little higher. Let's see if I can move it up. It's just a hair. Yeah, okay. Again, this is not going to be perfect because I didn't do it really well here. All right, so I'm just going to wrap this back here, and normally I would secure it with the Terran tape, but since I have some of this glue, it actually is going to work. So I'm just going to go ahead and put the glue on put a little bit more Tombow, and we'll go ahead and lay it on the base. So I'm just adjusting this just a teeny bit, but overall it looks pretty good. This is Facebook Live, so no retakes. Any mistakes, you're gonna get to see them. All right, but isn't that pretty? I do like having this. This one I didn't pop up with dimensionals, but this one I wanted to. I just wanted you to see the difference on how that will look, how it looks, you know, with popping it up versus not. All right, so the ribbon I was using was this tulle ribbon. It's just beautiful for like weddings or summery cards, whatever you want. And I will bring in the inside card base so that I do not forget to add it. I goofed earlier And then of course the cake stand I have already embossed as well. I won't show that again, but again, color it first, then punch out. It really will make it a lot easier for you. So with this paper, the vellum paper, just put glue where you know it's going to be. You can also use glue dots, but you don't want to use glue anywhere where it'll end up showing. Just something, we can add a few glue dots here and there if it starts raising up, but definitely don't put it over the whole thing because it will show. So I'm going to flip this over, add a little bit of Tombow. Vellum is really pretty and it adds a nice elegant touch. It's good for like weddings or anniversary, anything like that. So any cards really, but it has a really pretty soft look to it that I really enjoy. All right, so bringing in my cake stand, I'm going to go ahead and adhere that with a little bit of liquid glue, and then we'll start building the cake. So coming in here, I'm not sure how we're doing with time. I was hoping to be done within the hour, so I think that'll be possible. So you can see it's starting to raise up here, and what I'm going to do is just get a glue dot and put it under there just so it's not raising. For some reason glue dots don't show too much compared to a lot of things. So I'm using my Take a Pick tool and I'm just going to set it there. So can you see that? You can a little bit, but it's not too bad. And I'm going to put one more here. I'm going to put one more down here where I know it's covered. Oh, that kind of goofed a little bit there, but okay. So I'm ready now to roll with adding the rest of the cake, and I wanted to talk a little bit about this vellum. This is a DSP that I cut out. It's a beautiful whole pattern, and you can use different pieces if you want to cut them out as accents. So that's what I did here. So I'm just going to lay this lightly down so we can see what it will look like. And here is my cake that I've already cut out, and it's really, and I already have it prepared, but you can see how it's just really elegant. But I did want to tell one last thing before we finish assembling this, is I use this product called shimmer paint, and this one is frost white. And what you do is shake it up, and I suggest if you're right-handed, start left to right on coloring. So what I'm using is an old Wink of Stella pen, and you just start coloring here. There we go. And it really, you can't see it too well probably in this video, but it adds such a shimmer, and it just is gorgeous for this particular card. I really think it's great. So I don't know if you can see it at all. Can you see it at all? Probably not, but you get the point. It really adds a very nice touch to it, the white cake. It's just, I think, spectacular. So this one, as I said, we're not going to bother, we're not going to add any dimensionals on the cake. We're just going to have it on the sentiment. You can choose, if you assemble your card kit, you can choose which way you want to do it. The dimensionals will not be attached for this particular project. So just lay down your cake like so. And you do want to leave a little bit here in case you want to tuck in your accent. So I would recommend not putting it down completely until you're sure, because it helps to have it kind of like a continuous look. I don't know if you can see it in here. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and bring in my glue dots, and I will show you that you can actually just put your paper right to it and pick up the glue dot. And I'm going to use 3 of them here, and I'm trying to do it on darker spots, not the clear parts of this vellum, and that'll be less obvious then. So I'm just going to tuck it in, and I'm going to be mindful also up here. I don't want it to hit the sentiment, so I kind of want it free of covering that sentiment. But there we have the outer part, and now we're going to go ahead and stamp the inside. Now, What I did here is just stamp a simple leaf, and this is from the Humming Along set. I will bring in the leaf, and I just thought it was a nice little touch. I'm looking for my green Pear Pizzazz. And what I like doing here is just kind of doing it in the corner. So I thought it was, but again, all these decisions are just fun ones that you can make as you're going along and decide, you know, if that's the look you're looking for or what. Now, as you can see, this would be very hard to see. So having a piece of white cardstock is definitely a must so that you can write inside when you have such a dark card base, which the dark card base it looks really cool, I think, but again, you do have to do this part if you're going to do that. And I'm using a little tear and tape, and I like doing tear and tape because if I ended up making a really big boo-boo while I was writing a card, I could just remove it in the inside card base and add, you know, the correction, a new white piece of cardstock like I'm adding right now. So there we have it. And I will now bring back in my other card because I forgot to add the base, which is a big goof. And the one I'm going to add is, it says, "Hope your year is a piece of cake," which I think is pretty cute. You know, who doesn't want an easy year, right? A lot of sentiments for birthdays is kind of implying age. So this one's kind of neutral. This could work for a young person or an older, someone middle-aged, whatever. So there it is. Hope your year is a piece of cake. I'm gonna bring my tear and tape back in and get a piece. Flip it around, and we're going to be concluding this. I really appreciate you joining me. If you want this kit, you just order $40 or more using the host code that's here. You just go to Stamp It Up, and at checkout you add the host code. And then I will be mailing you, hopefully within a week, the whole kit. And if you order the chamois, I will throw in the case, the CD case, the empty one. So there is that. And maybe I'll bring this back and we'll do that envelope idea. I thought it was really adorable. I don't know. What do you guys think? Did you think it was cute to have the a little seal, if you will, and use this shimmer paint, not paint, this paper, the Glimmer paper, again, a second time, so you're using it from the center of that one. I think it's worthwhile, and as you can see, no one could possibly tell that it was stolen from here. So it's making good use of the paper. All right, so I will go ahead and, oh, this is coming kind of loose. It does need more time to dry the paper. And what I want to do is to have it up here, the top, and then I will just add it to the top here. And when I seal it, I can add more. So I just want to center this, and then I can still open it up. Isn't that pretty? That's pretty cute. It's pretty awesome. So again, thank you for watching. I will look forward to doing this again. Hopefully I will do it at the beginning of each month. And if this is popular, I will add it, maybe do it every other week. And I will also hopefully be able to do some prizes and that sort of thing for sharing. But right now I'm just getting started. So any help you can give in spreading the word would be really outstanding. If you are interested in any of this information, I can email you that. And again, thank you so much for watching. I'm just going to look at my screen here to see if there are any questions. And if there's not, then have a wonderful rest of the day. And thank you so much for watching. So I'll bring this one last time closer to the camera so you can see it. Have a wonderful rest of your day, Happy stamping.